Hello everyone. Everybody went quite quiet when I moved, so I thought I'd better come and explain. Theoretically, we've got a 2:30 start. It was 2:15, so we could start at 2:30. We're a bit early, but we look as though we're all in, and I'm looking at my team at the back to see if there's anybody outside. We're just checking. Yep, we're good to go. So if you're all happy with that, good. Well, hello. My name is Linda, as many of you know, and I'm chair of Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust. I was just saying to Julian a minute ago, it doesn't seem 5 minutes since we were all here before. And it's lovely because there's some familiar faces in the audience who are regular supporters, and that's amazing. And thank you very, very much indeed. I've got two ladies right in front of me, and it's probably the only time we ever say hello in the year. But it's great to see you all. And I think really what I'm very pleased about is, and you talk to me in year many, either online or write me letters, is to see how so many people are interested to hear about our achievements. And the annual meeting is, of course, to reflect on 17-18, and hopefully you're going to hear about our achievements, but equally our challenges. So, a huge welcome. It's great that we managed to fill the room. I can remember 5 years ago, I think I almost felt like I was talking to myself. But suddenly, 5 years on, we've got a room full of people who are interested, hopefully, in what I've got to say and what Julian's got to say. Some of our clinical directors will be joining the meeting as and when they're freed, obviously, from their schedules. So there might be a little bit of traffic goes on, people coming in and going out at appropriate times. So if you're sat next to somebody who looks to be fidgeting about and needs to go, bear with us, please, on that one. We absolutely want everybody to utilise every space. So I know you've got settled, but if there's anybody who feels they need to go early, can you move further back so that you're not disturbing? Right, I've done all that bit. So I've got my badge on here, and this is a very special year for the NHS. I think we've moved on. Because of course it's our birthday. It's our 70th birthday. And it's the 70th birthday of what I would say is our wonderful NHS. On the screen there, you'll see there's a reminder of when a time when the NHS was created. Just after, I'm going to say after my birthday, but I was going to give you away. But this, interestingly, and I do not remember this, by the way, I was tiny, came through everybody's door, and every home got one, and it was to explain what change meant for the people who were used to, quite frankly, paying for medical and nursing care or making do with home remedies and folklore because they couldn't afford the doctor's bill. And of course in 70 years we've moved eons, haven't we? Quite seriously. The NHS has achieved some amazing things during that time, and I am particularly proud to be very much a part of that institution, the NHS. Because both me personally and my family have benefited greatly from the care provided by the NHS, and I am personally very grateful for everything I'm receiving now around my own family. And I think probably everybody in this room could probably identify with that statement in one way or another. But of course many people, and many of you in this room, will have their own stories to tell about the debts that's owed to the NHS as well as saving lives. NHS teams work day after day to treat more and more and less significant illnesses among our friends and families, with the result that on average people are living 10 years longer than when this leaflet went through their doors. So that's a huge achievement in itself, but of course it does come with consequence. The NHS has been a major force in developing treatments that have contributed to this increase, both in life expectancy and the quality of people's lives, especially as they get older. And I'm now in that category, so I'm telling my team, crack on, because the clock is ticking here. The list of achievements is, quite frankly, endless. But I just want to mention a few of them. And if I might just be allowed to show off a little bit, because I'm proud and honoured, and because I feel this organisation has so many talented people. I will choose some where we have been a big part of medical advances and where we remain at the forefront. Our surgeons have helped to pioneer minimal invasive keyhole surgery, and cardiologists have developed innovative ways to treat heart conditions with incredible technology, such as this tiny implant that you see instead of traditional open heart surgery, and we were pioneers here. They've also been at the vanguard of specialist surgery, including life-saving liver and kidney transplants. And we performed the UK's first ever kidney transplant here at Leeds. And recently, the exceptionally complex neurosurgery and plastic surgery involved in transplanting limbs, especially in achieving the UK's first ever hand transplant, and then the WAMI, the double hand trans. And there he is. So our teams have led more and more effective treatments for cancer, such as precision radiotherapy. There was a piece on the television last night. We're on it. Been here a while, actually. I do think sometime others get in, but I don't know why, but anyway. Sophisticated chemotherapy and robotic surgery. And although we've not yet found the holy grail, which is of course the cure for cancer, we are improving life chances every single day. So I keep using this word proud, but I am proud. And indeed, the whole board is proud to be associated with all this work and many, many more, because we could be here for hours if I really went into the real detail of what many, many other things that sit underneath that. So it's a real privilege to support people whose brilliance brings real benefits for patients. So I mentioned the 70th party, and as part of our birthday celebrations, we've been holding the big 7 tea parties across the trust, and today is no different. And we have one for you, and it's going to, and me, by the way, courtesy of our charity, renamed, and I'll come back to this, Leeds Cares. So I hope you'll be able to stay around at the end. Please don't rush off. I know some of you have got various buses and transport arrangements, but do have the 70th birthday party tea with us, and cake. So take the opportunity alongside that to meet some of the board members, because they're all here, directors and non-exec directors, and it'd be really great to talk to them as well, and for them to have the opportunity to talk to you. During this year, we also have some birthday cards to receive, and we had dozens. And they've been collected across Leeds by one of our medical consultants, John Puntis. I don't know whether it's John's and his colleagues. Is John with us today? John, stick your hand up if you're here. Right, he's not yet. In a campaign group to keep the NHS public, please do take time to look at the cards and the messages, because the messages are amazing, as it really shows just how much this amazing institution is valued by so many people. And I'd like to personally thank John for bringing them along today. They're all outside, so please do read them. And you'll be able to get some pictures with John if you want. Some people in this room actually sent them, so if you'd like a photo with you and John, please just grab somebody. There's plenty of photography about later. So the tea party, I hope you're going to enjoy it, especially because it commemorates the commitment and dedication of our staff, as well as the founding of this great institution, the National Health Service as we know it today. may I take the opportunity to encourage each of you to consider how you might support the charities that are going to be funding our tea later on. I don't want to go into much detail of this, but because I've got somebody knocking, who want to come in. I usually at this point will say to one of our, Simon, can you fix the knocking? He's used to this at Bournemouth, so he's off to go find out. So Leeds Cares, and David Welsh, I hope has joined us by now, but if he's not, he's sitting at the back there. Leeds Cares is the kind of group name for the family of charities that we have sitting under it. And I won't steal your thunder, David, so we'll leave it for you to explain later. But David really does want your support, everybody in this room, the whole of Leeds, the whole of the region of Yorkshire, for various reasons that he'll come on to. As usual, I've got to do the housekeeping points. First, we certainly don't have a fire alarm planned. If you hear the alarm sounding, please follow. There's plenty of staff around. Just follow them out of the building into the assembly points. Second, on the way into Gledhow main entrance, the toilet facilities are there on the left. And one of my pet things, please turn your phone to silent, especially if consultants or staff here, you're on call. And we will get the fellow who's stuck in the roof sorted out in a minute. So this is our annual general meeting, and the purpose of which is, of course, to formally report on our work during 17-18. And again, that we're proud to hear, as it gives us the opportunity to showcase our achievements, which I have to say has been in what has been an extremely challenging year. Although it's difficult to try to summarise the work over a year of a hospital trust, and a hospital trust that employs 18,000 people and spends more than 1.2 billion a year, public money a year, on you, us, people outside. Again, we have to hold that close to us as a board and as an organisation. But it's a privilege to be given that responsibility, even though it is extremely challenging. But so much has happened over the year, well, in every year actually, that I think that we as a team have been together, which is about 5 years roughly. So I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I want to try and give you, so you go away, a sense of the progress in this last year, because year on year for those last 5 years, I hope some of you are seeing progression and improvement across those 5 years. So in the last year, this is what I'm going to try and tell you about. So, what have we got planned for the meeting? I'd like to use my introduction to explain the role of our non-executive trust board members, because I'm often asked on all sorts of platforms, because I do try to get out a lot, as do my non-execs, what do you do as a chair? And I usually say, well, how long have you got? Because that can take quite an amount of explanation. But very often then it leads into, so what do the non-execs do? So I'm going to share with you an exclusive preview of some very exciting plans we have for parts of the oldest hospital sites in the country at Leeds General Infirmary. So that's going to be part of what I'm going to talk about. I've then asked Julian to give you an overview of some of our key achievements throughout the year, and then we're going to be followed on by Simon Worthington, our Finance Director, who's going to share some of the details around the financial performance. So after we've carried out the formal part of the meeting and we've received the annual report, which is again why we're here, I'll then ask David Welsh, who I've mentioned earlier, the Chief Executive of the Trust Charity, Leeds Cares, to give you a short overview of his work and show how it supports the work we do and its valuable contribution to Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust. Then, as normal, it covers the question, Q&A. And then of course we've got tea and cake. So can I just go back to the Q&A, because I think we had a success last year in the Q&A session. What we try to do about the questions and answers, because we've got all the senior team here, obviously you've got Julian, the CEO, you've got Simon, the FD, but you've got a plethora of different directors here and non-exec directors here. People were asking some quite personal questions, not last year, but the year before particularly. So we, again, as we did last year, we've got our PALS team are on hand to discuss anything that is a little bit more private, that is personal to you, that perhaps is more appropriate to be asked outside with them, and or one of the directors outside as well. Because discussing some of the personal things in this kind of forum probably is not quite appropriate for you to air some of your personal things. That worked brilliantly last year. They're stationed at the reception of the building. You may pass them actually on the way in, but if you're in any doubt as to where they are, who they are, then please just ask any one of us here and we'll make sure that you get to speak to somebody. Right, coming back to the non-exec directors. Looks like a police lineup, this, doesn't it? Just I've seen that. The non-exec directors are people that are recruited to our trust board to play an extremely important role in bringing specific knowledge and skills, and crucially, they bring independence to the boardroom. On top of that, they bring their own career experience and skills. And our particular board, we benefit from commercial, legal, medical, research, HR, accounting, and IT. Got the whole spectrum of these people having amazing careers, still have, and they're bringing all that expertise and skills to our board. So together, me, them, we support the executive, we scrutinise, but we also bring independent challenge to that whole of the trust board and the committees that sit under it. We've got one or two new non-executive directors who were not here last year, because obviously I'm into my 5.5 years, is it? We've had the joy of being in each other's company, yes. And we're in a bit of churn now because, you know, public sector rules, well, actually private sector rules as well. You have a particular term of office that you're allowed to stay. So we've got a little bit of churn starting now. But I would like to welcome, for their first AGM, Professor Moira Livingston. Do you want to stand up? Here we are. There you go. Bob Simpson. I think the professor bit gives you a bit of a clue that she might be clinical. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Bob, I'm going to embarrass you now, Bob. Bob was the ex-estates director at Asda. Scroll there. Big portfolio there. Chris Schofield, where is he? Yeah? Founder and lawyer of Schofield Sweeney, one of the big law firms, and Jazz Naran.
Afternoon.
And Jazz is one of the senior people at Santander IT. So we've got some serious people there who are doing the job for you, for the public, in scrutinising and making sure we function as a board, or helping me to function as a board. And talk about function of a board, you know, it's kind of, so what do they do? It's back to that question again. Quick video to show you just some of the things that these people do.
Hello, my name is Linda and I'm the Trust Chairman. Our non-executive directors are people recruited to the Trust Board to play a really important role in bringing specific knowledge, skills and crucially independence to the boardroom. But within the committees and the boards, their job is to scrutinise and hold to account the executive and the papers that come to board and scrutinise them in an independent way. We're held to account not just by the board and the objectives we set at the board, but by our national regulators and the national standards that we have to achieve.
Hello, my name is Bob Simpson. I'm the non-exec director, started in March 2018. I have a career history of managing complex building and development projects. I'm really excited about the development of the LGI site and particularly realising the vision of building the Leeds Way. I act as a critical friend, if you will, to Simon Neville, the Director of Strategy, in his day-to-day running and leadership of the project.
Hello, my name is Giles Moran and I'm the non-exec director on the board at LPHD since Feb 2018, where I joined from the Insight program. I also work at Santander as a customer operations director and have been in financial services for the last 20 plus years. And it's a real privilege to join the LPHD family because I believe we're on a great journey to transform ourselves for the future. I support Richard Corbridge and his digital information team to help transform ourselves into the digital hospital of the future. And actually we're at the ward here today to look at Scan for Safety, which I believe is really important and critical to transforming ourselves as far as patient safety is concerned.
I'm Mark Chamberlain. I'm a non-exec director and vice chair of the Trust. I've worked in the commercial sector all my life, largely in big organisations in people management roles. One of the things we take really seriously at the Trust is the opportunity for people to raise concerns if they have them. And this is under the banner of freedom to speak up. Part of my role as a non-exec director is to make sure that there's some objectivity about making sure that the freedom to speak up guardian, who's appointed by the chief executive, is able to carry out their role effectively and make sure that people's concerns are addressed appropriately.
Hello, my name is Mark Ellaby. I've been a non-executive director at the Trust for almost 4 years. This is a challenging role and is one where I can make a real difference to the NHS. As the chair of the Finance and Performance Committee, I work with my fellow board members to provide scrutiny and assurance on the overall performance of the Trust. This ensures that as a Trust we deliver against our contracts for treating patients, which secures our income, and as we did this year, means that we achieve financial balance at the end of the year.
One of the most important things we do is all of us, the executive and the non-exec, is to ensure that we move from the boardroom onto the ward. What you see here is that in action. That's a regular occurrence that all executives, non-executives actually visit all the wards unannounced to ensure that we actually understand what the true challenges are, not just for our patients, but also for our staff.
Hello, my name is Moira. I'm one of the non-exec directors at Leeds Hospitals Trust. We know how important it is that patients, their families and carers experience the highest quality of care whilst in hospital. One of the important things for us to do as board members is to walk around the wards and get a feel for how things are in reality. This enables us to talk to patients, to talk to staff, to talk to relatives if they're present, and find out what life is really like. We can use this intelligence to triangulate what we hear at the board, and this informs our decisions to improve the quality of care and experience of patients within our hospitals.
Hello, my name is Carl Chambers. By way of background, I'm a barrister and a chartered accountant. I'm a non-executive director here at the Trust and I chair the audit committee. Its main role is really to ensure that as a Trust we have policies and procedures that govern most of our activities, whether it's our clinical services, our financial operations, our whole quality experience.
So the board, constituting the executive directors and the non-executive directors, we work as one team. And we try to meet as many people in their whole year as humanly possible, whether that's staff or whether it's patients, carers and families. And part of that is because we here at these teaching hospitals are absolutely determined not just to be good, but to be excellent.
Okay, find that useful? Enjoyed it? Oh, I'm getting a lot of nods, that's good. Not so sure about the non-execs on it, whether they'll have enjoyed doing it. There we go. Right, so let's come back to the main part. Not only is it the 70th birthday of the NHS, It's also the 150th anniversary of the opening of the Leeds General Infirmary. And there it is, in all its splendour. You'll be very familiar, or the Leeds people will be very familiar with the landmark piece of the city's architectural heritage. This Gothic revival building on Great George Street, designed by Sir George Gilbert Scott in 1863. And of course, this was the preliminary one. It was trying us out here in Leeds to St Pancras, identical. Again, some amazing achievements were made within this building, and currently it's completely empty, and some significant medical advances, including aseptic surgery and the UK's first, believe it or not, accident and emergency. We have some really exciting and ambitious plans for the Leeds General Infirmary site, and we've been progressing those in year. In fact, we've been at it probably more than a year, going on for 2 years now. If we are successful, and we're going to cross that if out, when we are successful in getting national support to go ahead with the scheme, it will be as a result of the financial success we have achieved this year and the one that we aim to deliver in the future. But that is going to be a big challenge. And the challenges that we took down, and the ambition and the vision we have for Leeds, not just for the Trust but for the city, we took down in November, Julian and I and some of the team, to the House of Commons, and we presented our plans for our new healthcare building for the Leeds General Infirmary site. And it was attended by the then Minister of State for Health, which then was Hunt, of course, who's moved on, Lord Carter of Coles for the Lords, and he leads on efficiencies within the NHS, and again both spoke in support of our scheme at that event last November. Many people, senior people from the NHS and our local MPs and other key partners. There has been a huge amount of support and a lot of excitement about the plans, and I'm really going to be thrilled to show you something in a minute, because I'd like to talk you through this exclusive, absolutely hot off the press. It's an animated preview of the ideas that we are looking at for the Leeds General Infirmary site, together with our partners, and that'll come out again in the fly-through. This is the fly-through. As we zoom in on an aerial view of the Leeds General Infirmary site, you can see the Gilbert Scott building. And now we're moving alongside Gilbert Scott. As we turn, you can see the old medical school there on the left. Some of our oldest buildings in the Trust, like Gilbert Scott, can't be used for modern healthcare today. So we're working with agencies like Historic England to bring these wonderful landmarks back to life and find innovative uses for them that tie in with our ambitions for the whole district, recognising that Gilbert Scott is listed and so its status must be preserved. As we move back along the front of Gilbert Scott, you can see a first glimpse of the new healthcare building behind. That's the big white building right at the back there. We're now travelling past the entrance of Brotherton Wing opposite Millennium Square, which will become one of the entrances to the new Business, Retail and Innovation Quarter, and I'll come back to that later. Travelling past the Civic Hall, the new healthcare building comes into view. There you go, and you see our brand new purpose-built children's hospital. Brand new children's hospital. This will bring together all of our children's services that are currently split across 2 sites, making the experience so much better for our youngest patients and also staff. Behind the Children's Hospital, you can just see the new healthcare building extending LGI, but I'll come back to that. Now we are turning to see the area that will become the new retail quarter. Earlier I mentioned the new Business, Retail and Innovation Quarter, and here we show how the new hospital site sits within the centre of what will become the Innovation District, a vibrant new area of Leeds encouraging innovation and investment into the city. And we're working closely there with 2 universities in our city, our health partners, obviously our local authority, and it's great to see Rachel's joined us today, who's chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board and a councillor, obviously, Councillor Charlesworth, great to see you coming. We aim to attract new businesses, including retail, investment, research and innovation, which of course will only benefit patients, create jobs and wealth for the whole city. Now we move out of the retail quarter, loop around and into the health technologies and research zone, another central part of our ambition for the innovation district. Up alongside the proposed parking facilities, there you go, here we go in here, here we go. We move up alongside the proposed parking facility. I think we've passed it. No, here it comes, on your right, there you go. And to the front of the new children's hospital. The new healthcare building on the left, just by the side there, will provide light and spacious, airy space to house adult services including state-of-the-art theatres, clinical care facilities, centralised outpatients, some day assessment treatment and for certain specialist conditions. And as we zoom out, you've got a sense of the scale of the healthcare building and its place on the LGI site. And what a wonderful addition to our city of Leeds. So you've had a real preview of what the future, not just of the Trust, but of our LGI site and the city. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Are you excited about that?
Yes.
I hope so. Looks like tears going into this.
What's the time scale on that? Any ideas?
I would like to put you, it better not be, I'll be long gone. I'm championing this, and I'm on a time scale. Completely sits with our regulators and the powers that be. That's why we need the partners that we've talked about are completely committed and supported to this, and I'm looking straight at Rachel as I'm saying this as one of our local authority councillors. But we actually need the city behind us. So we need you, and we need to get all the support we can muster to really make sure that the powers that be that make those decisions give us the thumbs up, because we need to crack on. With too much empty space, that's waste. That is wasted money. And quite frankly, for the city centre, we can do so much better. And we need investment, and we need jobs, and all that, and a better facility for patients. So it's all encompassed within that area. Hugely, hugely, hugely exciting. So timescales, right. Well, we're working on the outline business case. That will be submitted early in 2019. But again, it comes back, it's really important we know what you think. We need patient and public involvement, because these plans will develop over this period while the outline business case is being agreed. Because we have to develop it in a way that makes it efficient for patients and makes it real and better. Not just the same as the things that we've seen 70 years ago, for instance. We're in a new era now, and IT clearly, looking straight at both Jazz and Richard, here they are going to be playing a massive part in that future, and that's the way it will look in the future. We're going to be kicking off public engagement from October. So, as I said, any of you that are, can get to other organisations outside or have access to other organisations, then please encourage them to be part of our support group. I am particularly, personally, passionate about this, so it is not going to take 50 years, because the benefits to patients, staff, the people of Leeds are beyond measure. We deserve a better children's hospital. We deserve, for the region, remember, because the children's hospital is our regional children's hospital. So it's not just Leeds. We deserve better than we've got at the moment. So we have to tell people we deserve better, and they have to get on and support us. And we have to manage our finance to enable that to happen. We get our part, we know the part we have to play. But we are all in this together. So I'm looking at you. You're great at supporting us. You've been amazing at supporting us in this last 5 years. Now we have to go the extra mile. Okay. While I'm on the topic of pride and passion, I have to mention our Time to Shine awards, because this comes back to staff. This is where we celebrate the excellence of the people who work here and who will always go that extra mile for the patients. This is me. It was the 3rd year in which we held this. It's a really, really, really inspiring event. I think, Julian, it probably is one of the highlights of our year, isn't it?
Yeah,
where we do this. And it's sometimes, you know, in the rush and push of what we're trying to do every single day, and the ask of patients, and the ask of our staff particularly when it's challenging, and with winter coming up yet again, we have to make sure we acknowledge and be grateful for what our staff do. There's 18,000 of us together, working together. And sometimes it's very easy when you're busy to forget to say thank you. So once a year, we make sure the categories are all voted for by staff, that we say thank you. And we take great pride in that. And as a board, everybody turns up to make sure. I think, how many did we have? 700 at the last event. And not everybody's a winner, clearly, because there's categories. But the board touched 700 people that night, literally, around the tables. And that's our way of saying thank you. So what do we say? Areas of improvement. This is when we come back to the awards, we look for areas improving patient experience, improving quality and safety, research and innovation, an enormous area of what we cover here in Leeds. And we came from a fairly low base, and we are shooting through the league tables now to be a really serious contender on the you know, the golden triangle of what goes on in Cambridge and London and Oxford. We're now giving them a run for the money. We've some way to go, but we've got the talent here, and we're attracting better and better talent into research and innovation. And again, the better we do, the more we want then the big names to want to come to work at Leeds, and the more we grow and the more success we have. So it's an absolute win-win, is that one. Use of technologies, this is going to be a big one for the future, and of course to make sure sustainable efficiencies. You can look on any of our wards and see banks and banks of cards, and we do, honestly, and letters from grateful patients, and I thank you for those who take the trouble to do that. I receive many directly into my office. So to recognise that our awards, we invited nominations from you, the public, this time, for the unsung hero, whose commitment and dedication underpin everything we do here at our hospitals. And we had an enormous response to that, amazing response. And you know, when you actually gift to somebody, when you're standing on the stage, as Julian and I do, to somebody who is fairly maybe low down in the rankings of what they perceive their career is, and they're in tears because somebody has recognised them, that actually makes a year. Because that means we're all in it together. And those people who, you know, the cleaners, the porters, the security guys, the guys who have and girls who have real tough jobs to do, not just the consultants at the top of the pecking order who are doing amazing things and doing all that fabulous research, but it's the other 18,000 that constitute the team, of which we all are. Right, I'm nearly at an end from my bandwagon. I'd like to close by just saying that huge thank you to staff. We've got them even standing at the back now, so that's brilliant. To take the trouble to give you a tribute. Once a year, the big tribute. In here, the general tribute, to say thank you. And to our non-clinical teams as well, because not everybody is clinical. I hope this has just given you a very short insight into the work of 1718. But also that glimpse of the future of what we are so now near going to pull off. It won't be an if, it'll be a when. That's my reputation up at stake here. Right, I'm going to finish, and I'm going to hand over to Julian, who's going to take you a bit more through some of the nitty-gritty detail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. It's always tough following you.
Oh, is it?
Hello everyone. My name is Julian. I'm Julian Hartley, Chief Executive here at Leeds Teaching Hospitals. First of all, can I say thank you all very much for attending this afternoon. It is great to see the turnout from across our patients, partners, and they've just all filed in at the back.
They have, yeah.
Our leaders of our clinical service units, clinical directors, and just a word on that actually, because the way that we organise ourselves here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals, making sure that we respect and ensure that we do justice to the amazing things that happen across the whole hospital, and as a board, that we have that connectivity with our CSUs represented by our clinical directors there at the back, I think is a hallmark of how we're able to keep in touch with what's happening at the front line and in each of the areas this vast organisation covers. So welcome at the back, and it's good to see you stood next to your achievements of the year, which I think we need to take a photograph of. A warm welcome as well to Councillor Charlesworth and Councillor Hayden. Councillor Charlesworth chairs the chairs the Health and Wellbeing Board for Leeds, which we're proud to be a part of, and also Councillor Hayden, who chairs the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for Health. So we're part of this city. We serve you, we serve our staff as a board, and we serve you as public, patients and colleagues. So looking back on the year, which is now what I'm about to take you through, the story of our year, is an important moment. And in our 70th year as a National Health Service, never have we advanced more in terms of what we're able to do for patients, but probably never have we faced such significant challenges in terms of how we fund the NHS, how we deliver for all of our patients, how we ensure we meet expectations in terms of waiting times, and frankly the demand that's placed on our services day and night, and how we respond well to that. And here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals, we're determined to get that right, and we're determined to do our best to serve all of you as our colleagues, patients, partners and the public. So, a reminder of what we stand for. Our pyramid, right at the top, is the patient, which is absolutely our true north in terms of how we ask ourselves a question every day: how are we adding value to our patients in terms of experience, outcomes and care? And our vision, where we aim to get to, and you've had a glimpse of the future already from Linda's presentation about where we aim to get to do justice to the specialist role that we fulfil, but crucially also the role we fill for the people of Leeds. 750,000 people live in this city, and we're here to serve them along with our partners that we work with to make sure that we provide integrated care. So if you're a patient, you don't need to keep repeating the same information depending which your NHS organisation or social care part of that you're in. It's seamless and integrated, and we connect it all with good electronic patient records. And then underpinning that, our goals, but I think crucial to our progress, the Leeds Way. Now everyone here who works here knows about the Leeds Way. Some of you who don't may not be as familiar, but the Leeds Way is our culture, it's how we work together, it's what we prize, and it was created by all 18,000 staff 4.5 years ago, who were clear that we needed to be patient-centred, empowered, accountable, collaborative and fair. And each of those words means something to all of us in terms of how we work, and it guides our behaviours day in, day out. And then underpinning that, how we work to continuously improve. And I will say a little more about how we've made significant progress this year in the Leeds Improvement Method. Now, in terms of the content of my presentation and looking back on the year that we've just had, right at the centre of our achievements are our people. We couldn't do any of this without our people that work tirelessly day and night to serve our patients and to deliver the things that surround that: patient care and quality improvements, working in partnership across the city and the region, looking at how we make sure we're a digital hospital and taking advantage of technology and all of the developments that are on the horizon, and similarly research and innovation. I'm going to share some of our progress during this year with you in each of those areas. I also wanted to welcome colleagues from the Care Quality Commission who are with us today. They were sat in those seats that are now empty, I think. I think they've had to go because they're on a tight schedule. But they're looking at us across the Trust and across the whole of the city at the moment to give us feedback on how we're doing so that we can learn and improve further. Now, none of this progress and none of the vision that Linda set out in terms of our ambition for the development of the Leeds General Infirmary is possible without us achieving a level of financial stability in order to fund additional staff, equipment and buildings and environment. And I wanted to start with some good news about our progress over last year. The biggest operating surplus in 20 years since the Trust was created. We delivered a £18.9 million surplus, which was enabled by the Sustainability and Transformation funding, but we wouldn't have received that additional funding without meeting the expected targets that we had to hit. And that was the result of the £64 million worth of savings achieved through a really strong focus on unnecessary waste, duplication and inefficiency. And our teams, our clinical service units, particularly focusing on areas that don't add value to patients. The types of waste that exist in hospitals, waiting is waste. Every MRSA will cost about £10,000. So reducing harms, errors, focusing on waste reduction, use of paper, going to digital, taking out unnecessary processes, all these things add up, not only to better patient care, but also to better efficiency and productivity. And as a consequence of that, we've been able to deliver the best financial results this Trust has ever delivered. And that's important, not just in its own right, but what it enables us to achieve and how we can invest in the future and how we can invest in our capital, our equipment, our staff, and to put a down payment on our ambition to build a Leeds way. So, let me turn to our people. I'm incredibly proud of the team here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals and all of us that work together in the interests of patients. And I think we all have a conviction as a board that engaging our staff and focusing on the importance of staff morale, of a sense of purpose, of a collective sense of working as a team translates into high quality care for our patients, because ultimately it's our staff that deliver that care to patients. So our progress over the course of the year in the NHS staff survey, which is a measure against a number of factors about how staff feel about working here, has improved significantly. The red bars are those scores where, as a trust, we're in the bottom 20% of trusts nationally. The dark green bars in the top 20%, the light green above average. And you can see back in 2012 where we were and the progress that we've made, culminating in last year's staff survey where we only have one area, which we're working on, where we're in the bottom 20%. But we now have 13 areas where we're in the top 20%, whereas back in 2012, you can see where we were there. So I think the contrast is marked, and it encourages us, because it shows that when we survey every year all 18,000 of our staff, and we ask them the key questions about what does it feel like to work here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals, do you get the chance to contribute to improvements, how do you feel about your manager, do you feel you get the support that you need? All those questions that get asked that people, because it's anonymous, reply absolutely honestly to. You can see where the progress we've made. And that makes a difference, because that translates into our ability to deliver better quality care with a highly motivated group of staff. And an important component of that is about making sure that we have got the importance focused on staff health and well-being. And we work hard to recognise health and well-being, and we also look hard at how we work to ensure that we deliver safety and quality across all of our patient areas. And I just want to spend a little bit of time, I think this is queuing up a video. It'll come on. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time looking at the importance of listening and learning. Our patient experience team worked really hard with clinical management teams to share the results of national patient survey programmes so that clinical teams can build this understanding. And each year we develop new patient and public involvement activities, and they report back on how the feedback coming out of that work has influenced patient care. And what's clear is that people really want to do the very best for patients, to support the changes at local level. So this short video, which gives you some good examples of the listening and learning approach, which is an essential part of the Leeds way.
Here at Leeds Teaching Hospitals, we recognise the value of listening, whether that's listening to our patients, their suggestions and ideas for improvement, or listening to our staff and their views on how we can improve the services that we deliver. Learning from feedback is very important to us, and it's the best way that we can make sure that we improve our services across the whole trust, listening to both staff and patients and the public. And we've been working hard to take all those suggestions about how we can improve and turn them into action. And here are just a few.
Many of our patients find their time in hospital difficult because of unfamiliar environments and routine. This can be especially true of patients with dementia. When a patient was admitted to J91, they were upset and agitated. The team took time to listen to the concerns of the patient and her daughter and to find out her likes and dislikes. The patient settled as she got to know the ward, the routine and the staff around her. And a situation that started with anxiety and distress ended with laughter, smiles, and made the hospital stay a little bit easier.
During 2017, we talked to clinical staff about the way we were being paid for our services. The current system wasn't flexible enough to support us when we wanted to make changes that would benefit patients and also to make better use of our resources. Following positive feedback from clinical staff, we now have a new way of being paid by the CCG and NHS England for the services we provide. It's called the Aligned Incentive Contract. This means we can continue to transform how we deliver services to really meet the needs of our patients.
The paediatric sepsis screening tool has been developed through listening to feedback from staff across our children's services and has gone through 14 cycles to arrive at its current version. This is a grassroots developed tool with patient safety at its heart and goes above and beyond the guidelines set out by NICE, ensuring we are leading the way nationally. Local and national NHS organisations have been approaching us to find out more about this homegrown project, refined through our staff's ability to listen to one another to build a better method of care for our patients.
Since last year and the Wayfinder work that was undertaken, the digital informatics team have been using listening and learning to understand what clinicians need from our systems. The most popular Wayfinder was to move to a single sign-on, to take away the need to log in 9 different times across our different systems, and move to a simple way, a tap-and-go way of logging in. That's now implemented across the Trust, and our clinical systems are now moving forward and delivering single sign-in for all of the different solutions we have.
Looking after children in the intensive care unit is as challenging as it is rewarding. But our people were telling us that they were experiencing high levels of stress and that they were feeling overwhelmed. It Because of this, the team developed a supportive service led by 2 of our senior clinical psychologists who provided confidential one-to-one support, resilience training and other aspects of psychological care to members of the team working in the department. Results have been really positive, with significant reductions in staff calling in poorly due to workplace stress and team members reporting feeling much better overall. In addition to this, the service has recently also been shortlisted for the Nursing Times Award.
Our Major Trauma Centre provides care to over 1,600 critically ill patients a year here at Leeds General Infirmary, many of them arriving by Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Listening to medical experts, our partners and stakeholders, we recently upgraded the helipad to include lighting for nighttime flying and new firefighting equipment. This means we can now deliver life-saving care to patients arriving by ambulance, regardless of day or night. For example, recently a patient came all the way from Nottinghamshire, passing 2 other major trauma centres where nighttime landing was not possible. Here, regardless of day or night, we can support patients across the region and beyond.
We all know how important a good night's sleep is, particularly to be fresh and energetic for the next day. But for our patients, a good night's sleep is essential to aid and assist recovery. So that's why we started the Calm at Night Charter. And it's all about guaranteeing our patients a good night's sleep. And it came about from suggestions from our patients who found themselves being disturbed by noise at night. So the Calm at Night Charter guarantees a good night's sleep, provides earplugs, eye masks, to ensure that bedtime means bedtime.
Thank you. So, listening and learning, acting on suggestions to translate those into improvements for our patients. And then, of course, celebrating and recognising those achievements. You've mentioned this, Linda, but of course the Time to Shine Awards, every year an opportunity to recognise that. But also, every CSU, all 18 of them, run their own recognition events. And those in turn create an important opportunity for our staff to be recognised for going above and beyond and working in the Leeds way and delivering really outstanding care and services for our patients. One area we've worked hard on this year has been junior doctors. And you'll recognise Yvette, who's led this work, working closely with our junior doctors, developing facilities for them, working to improve their working lives in what is, right across the NHS, a really pressured part of medical careers and training. And we're all familiar, of course, I'm sure, with some of the challenges that junior doctors have had in recent years. And we're determined here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals to make sure that we deliver the very best experience for them. And we have a responsibility, a significant responsibility as a major teaching hospital, to develop clinical leaders of the future. By helping junior doctors develop their careers across our hospitals, we've made a commitment to them. We've created a vision with them about how we want Leeds Teaching Hospitals to be the best place to train and to learn. And we think it's making a real difference. This year we held our first ever Junior Doctors Award event, which attracted more than 100 nominations from across all specialities, and really proud to hear about the great work that goes on across the whole of the Trust. We continue to run one of the largest medical education programmes in the NHS. Last year we welcomed over 2,000 undergraduate and postgraduate medical students to our hospitals as part of their training, and more than 1,200 nursing, midwifery and allied health professional students completed clinical placements with us, and nearly 600 apprentices across a number of different roles, clinical and non-clinical, joined the Trust. In terms of patient safety and quality improvement, the commitment of our teams to focus on safety and quality is paramount. But I think it's fair to say this year has been a challenging year. particularly in terms of our ability to deliver some of our NHS constitutional standards. And you will see that documented in the annual report, where you can see our performance. But in terms of standards for accident and emergency, the knock-on impact of an incredibly busy winter on some of our elective care standards in terms of time for treatment, we've had a real tough challenge, as has the NHS as a whole. But we're determined to address those challenges, and as a board we talk all the time about how we can do better in those areas. So thinking about how we respond to that, the answers to those challenges we can't find on our own. We rely on working with our partners across Leeds to help support the improvements to what we do for patients in terms of discharge, to work in collaboration with colleagues in social care, in the voluntary sector, and the whole of the NHS, particularly primary care and community services. And in October of last year, we held our first ever what we call Perfect Week, which is when we attempt during 1 week to try and get every process right, to be perfect, and to learn why we're not able to deliver that in some cases. And then we built on that in February, where we ran our first multi-agency discharge event, including all partners across the city, to ensure that patients don't need to stay in hospital longer than necessary. And more recently, we've been doing some important work about how to focus on the key things that will make a difference as a system, including nursing homes, community services, and additional capacity in social care to help us manage that more effectively. We've also invested in additional capacity here in Leeds Teaching Hospitals in a partnership with Villa Care to expand and develop Wharfdale Hospital to ensure that our patients are able to access effective recovery and rehabilitation. This is an example of one of our safety huddles. And ensuring our patients are safe, improving quality across all services is a key goal. And we do this by, one way we do this is by looking at our multidisciplinary safety huddles, which are really focused, stand-up meetings on the ward to share information that will help teams to guard vulnerable patients against falls and other potential harms. Similar work from our Pressure Ulcer Collaborative, our Deteriorating Patient Initiative, means we've seen significant reductions in harm and falls and a trust-wide decrease in cardiac arrest calls. And that work really matters to us, and we continue to reinforce and enable teams to do that. And we now have the vast majority of our wards and teams adopting this approach in the interests of great patient care. Now, these initiatives run alongside the Leeds improvement method. This is our improvement method. This is how our teams work every day with each other to improve services for patients. Over 6,000 of our staff are now trained in the Leeds improvement method, which means they are empowered to make a difference day in, day out to improve services for patients. They will spend a week together as a team looking at a patient pathway. They'll make changes, improvements, drive out waste and inefficiency, improve the quality of care and add value to the patient experience. We've run dozens of those rapid process improvement weeks in a range of patient pathways, and the results are really encouraging. These are some examples of what those improvements are giving us. Releasing 8 hours of time in outpatient cancer services for the team to use on direct patient care. Over 70% increase in the number of patients receiving physiotherapy rehabilitation sessions 3 times each week. Releasing 40 minutes every day from handover for nursing teams to focus on direct patient care. Eliminating up to 45 minutes of waiting for patients in antenatal clinic, and reducing the duration of medicine rounds by 50% from 120 to 60 minutes. There are countless other examples, but that gives you perhaps an insight to how we can keep incrementally improving what we do, finding extra time and capacity for our patients, focusing on adding value and quality to the experience of our patients. Now, we can't improve on our own, and it's very important that as an NHS trust, we work in partnership across the whole of the region. So we're part of the West Yorkshire and Harrogate Health and Care Partnership, which is aiming to break down barriers between different NHS organisations and work in the interests of a bigger population. We're also a key partner in the West Yorkshire Association of Acute Trusts, where we work with other hospitals in West Yorkshire in the interests of patients. And within the city, I'm proud to be part of the Leeds Health and Wellbeing Strategy, which is all about ensuring that we're connected with people and that we deliver the very best for our patients, that Leeds is the best city for health and care, and that we improve the health of the poorest the fastest. So we're a key partner in that work, and some important initiatives like developing the Leeds Health and Care Academy, where all organisations across statutory partners in Leeds train future workforce, develop new roles, deliver apprenticeship programmes, make connections into schools and colleges, and create the pipeline of our future workforce across the city. Let me move on to research and innovation, which is about the future, but we're planning that future today. The evidence is really clear about this, that where hospitals are active in research, patients get better treatment, and we're immensely proud of our research and innovation programmes, collaborating with partners including national funding bodies, charities and commercial organisations. And in 2017, we opened the new Research and Innovation Centre, which if you walked in the front of St James, you can see as you walk in on your right. And if you saw the BBC breakfast when they were celebrating the 70th anniversary of the NHS, you might have seen the lady that does the weather doing it from the Brain Garden, which is just out in front of the Research and Innovation Department. So we're very proud of that. And during the year, we were among the top 3 hospitals in England for research projects recognised by the National Institution for Health Research, involving more than 19,000 patients in 440 high-quality research studies. In December, we officially opened the NIHR Biomedical Research Centre at Chapel Allerton Hospital, and our new NIHR In Vitro Diagnostic Cooperative started work in January 2018, developing in vitro diagnostics for cancer, infectious diseases, musculoskeletal disease and renal medicine. And our new NIHR Surgical MedTech Cooperative will focus on using nanotechnology and biotechnology engineering. You saw a glimpse of that with that photo that Linda put up earlier, to enable new and better medical devices for use in surgery for treating cancer, vascular disease and organ disease, and a host of other achievements in terms of research and innovation. Alongside that ambition is our digital mission. And in terms of digital, this is the Leeds Digital Way, and you can see that the Leeds Digital Way will enable everyone to provide safe and integrated patient-centred care in Leeds and beyond. We'll deliver this using innovative technology, information and insight that transforms patient journeys and makes us all part of a successful team. And we're working across the Trust, and indeed across the city, to ensure we provide the best care by replacing outdated paper-based systems for patient observations, patient medications, discharge notes with faster, more efficient digital systems. We're working across the region on developing our flagship digital platform, which is delivering the electronic patient record, and our shared Leeds Care Record, which shares information across the whole city with GPs and mental health colleagues. And in the future, these digital developments will provide data that can be analysed by artificial intelligence. Super powerful computers using massively complex algorithms will improve the speed and accuracy of diagnosis, which is a vital aspect of the care that we aim to provide. All of that gives us, I think, a strong sense of confidence about the future and the scale of the opportunity. We balance that with the challenges and pressures of today. So we have to manage today while keeping one eye and planning for the future. And you got a glimpse of the future through the flyover, and building the Leeds Way is about our future. It is about where we need to go. It is about writing the next chapter for healthcare and for hospitals in this city. And it's important to make sure that the context of this is understood, that we are part of a team effort across the City of Leeds with the universities and the City Council to ensure that we can deliver the best care as part of an innovation district to transform the experience of patients and particularly children with the new Leeds Children's Hospital across the city. And at a time when the NHS is involved in writing its long-term plan, the 10-year plan that's being written for the NHS right now, it's really important for us to plan for that too, and to think about where we want Leeds teaching hospitals to be in the next 10 years. So that when we're celebrating the 80th, 90th, 100th anniversary of the National Health Service, we can say with pride that we've done our bit to prepare us for the future and make sure the NHS thrives and survives over the coming decades. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand you over to Simon Worthington, our Finance Director, who's going to take you through the financials. Thank you for listening.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Simon Worthington, if I can get this slide up. Yeah. I'm very proud to be the Finance Director of this wonderful institution. Just before going to I too have a video, which we'll show you in a moment. Just before going to that, I just want to reflect on a theme that both Linda and Julian have talked about, and that's the relationship between making a surplus and being able to invest in facilities for patients. So in one sense, you might think, well, if they made the surplus, shouldn't they have spent that money on patients? The way it works in accountancy all around the world is a day-to-day surplus, so the income and expenditure surplus we have for the year. The next year, that can be spent on capital, so buildings and equipment. I'm going to go through some of the numbers. I am Finance Director, so I have brought forth some numbers. You'll be able to see that. Okay, so really important that we remember that when we talk about the surplus. Okay, so if I flip to the next slide, there's a bit of a video around that. Ensuring that our finances are sustainable is a crucial part of delivering outstanding patient care. Last year, we were delighted to achieve a financial surplus of nearly 19 million. This is the first surplus that the Trust has made in 4 years, and the biggest surplus it's ever made since it was formed 20 years ago. This means that we can invest in equipment and in our estate, which will really improve patient care. Achieving the surplus is a huge achievement for the Trust. It's a testament to the hard work of colleagues from the CSUs across the organisation who have worked together with the team in finance to improve our financial situation. Engaging in a challenging but realistic waste reduction programme that will benefit our patients and colleagues.
As well as the waste reduction programme, we introduced a new financial performance framework allowing effective CSU-led forecasts which are refreshed and monitored monthly. The teams feel a real sense of ownership and know that they can make real change within their departments. We're also the first teaching hospital to support day one reporting, which means our CSUs know their financial position on the first day of the month.
For me, day one reporting is really helpful because for the first time we can truly understand the cost of delivering the service across the clinical service units the day after the month has been completed. We have a number of service and quality improvement initiatives across the CSU, and day one reporting has allowed us to really see and feel the impact of those improvements almost in real time. Lastly, as a clinician, day one reporting is very helpful for me because it allows me to truly understand the cost versus benefit of the decisions I make, prescribing, ordering investigations or planning ongoing care. I'm really happy that we have day one reporting. It's been really helpful for us to better understand the service that we deliver and to benefit our patients.
As part of the waste reduction initiatives, clinicians have engaged with the Trust's costing team to roll out our patient-level information costing system, otherwise known as PLIX. And this helps us to identify and eliminate areas of waste. As a clinician working in a high-cost specialty, I'm acutely aware of the need to get the sums right. Working with the PLIX team has meant we could address a problem with financial waste that we'd struggled with for a long time. We needed to work with our coding teams to improve accuracy. This was a rewarding challenge, one in which we succeeded for some time. However, the problem was how to translate that into pounds and pence, and crucially, to make sure we kept on getting it right. This was time consuming, and this is where the PLIX team came in. Working collaboratively, we've been able to address the problem, reduce waste, and crucially, have continued to monitor the performance of activity and expenditure. And crucially, along the way, we've developed close working relationships with our partners in finance and PLIX. And of course, this is going to be beneficial moving towards the future.
It's because of improvements like this that we have achieved such a fantastic surplus, proving to ourselves that we can deliver on longer term plans. Working collaboratively to achieve an ongoing surplus will mean more investment, cash resilience, and will underpin the affordability as we move towards building the Leeds Way.
Behind me is a brand new building housing the specialist Children's Advanced Intraoperative MRI Suite and Children's Cardiac Hybrid Theatre. The building has been made possible thanks to a partnership between the Trust and key charity partners, including both Leeds Cares and the Children's Heart Surgery Fund. This fantastic development is due to open in February 2019. The Children's Advanced Intraoperative MRI Suite will help us to improve the safety and efficacy of our surgery and will allow us to remain at the forefront of the treatment of children with brain tumours. I'm really looking forward to being able to work in this new theatre development.
The new dedicated cardiac hybrid theatre in the Children's Hospital is a fantastic new facility. It will allow cardiac surgeons and interventionalists to work together in complex procedures. This will achieve even better results and possibly during less interventions. This will particularly be of benefit to the sickest and most complex patients that we treat.
Okay, so hopefully that was interesting and informative. I think it's really great for me to see our clinical teams working so well with finance to be able to deliver improvements to get that surplus and to make those investments. And I don't want anybody to think that that has been easy. So tremendous thanks must go out to the clinical teams in the CSUs and the teams in the corporate departments for their real focus and effort in delivering on waste reduction whilst achieving improvements in quality of patient care. Moving on to some of the numbers. We've talked about how big Leeds Teaching Hospital is. So our operating costs in the last year were just short of 1.3 billion. It's so big, got it wrong. I used to be in Bolton this morning. 1.3 billion. Billion. Yeah. Million. Yeah. Whichever way around it is. Anyway. However, and please remember this, because of cash constraints we had coming into the year, and I suppose I've reflected previously, generally in the NHS, and the financial situation is very challenging, and therefore the achievements we've had in getting a surplus is even more impressive. But we spent £23 million on capital last year. However, last year we did deliver a surplus of 18.9 million and ended the year with 15 million in the bank. Now, that 15 million is more than we had previously in the cash in the bank. So, we also met various other technical targets such as the external financing limit and the capital resource limit. Okay, so if we flip to the plan, the planning numbers for last year, our original plan for last year was to deliver a £9 million surplus. Now the reason that we're able to say we've achieved 18.9 million is that we overachieved slightly on our plan, and because we did that, we received more of what is known as the Provider Sustainability Fund that Julian mentioned earlier, which is a national incentive fund to support providers who are achieving their financial plans. And we received, as part of our total surplus, 13 million was in fact from the Sustainability and Transformation Fund. In terms of cash, we actually repaid some of our debt last year. We repaid £8 million of debt, and we did receive £2 million of additional loans to help support our capital spending. In the video, some of the clinicians in the video and some of my team were mentioning some of the improvements that we've made in financial process, and certainly I think the partnership with Leeds Cares charity is very important for us, and David, I think, will be speaking about that in a moment. The new performance framework that we put in really helped us improve our financial management last year. Really proud, we're the largest, and I'll say the only large teaching hospital in the country to have achieved best practice standard of day one financial reporting, of which we're very proud. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that the accounts and the annual report that we have today have an unqualified value for money opinion. Now, for the last 5 years, I think it is, this trust has had a qualified value for money opinion, as have very many other NHS trusts, because our finances weren't necessarily sustainable as they were. So what we've got is our external auditors agreeing that our finances are now on a much more sustainable footing and that they can give us a clean bill of health there. So that's really, really good to see. Moving on to what we are doing in this financial year, and it will be another very challenging year, and there are risks. We are planning to make a surplus of 7.6 million. We hope to do more than that, but our basic line is 7.6 million. To do that, we need to achieve waste reduction of 55 million. You'll notice that's slightly less than we needed to achieve last year, which is good news. It means that we're making progress, but it's still, I'm sure you'll appreciate, a very big number. That waste reduction target will be very supported by the Leeds improvement method, of which Julian has spoken. There is £32 million of sustainability funding in that surplus projection, but really importantly we are planning, and we'll definitely be achieving capital expenditure of over £60 million this year. So just go back to the previous slide, which I'm not going to do in case but if you remember.
Coward.
Go on, I'll go for it there. Yeah, was it on that one? Was it on that one? Yeah, well, yeah. Your capital investment last year was 23 million, and this year is going to be over 60 million. So this is the result of the surpluses we made previously. And again on this slide, we note we've not had to make any short-term borrowing, so we are sustainable at the moment in terms of our cash flow. Many other trusts would be needing to make borrowing in order to pay the wages on an ongoing basis from the Department of Health. And there's a whole range of other improvements that we're driving. The main one that's focused on the slide is the aligned incentive contract, which was mentioned in the video, which is really a symbol of our partnership working with the CC, with our commissioners, both NHS England and NHS Leeds. Okay, so a very positive year that we achieved last year, and again, although there is risk and lots of hard work to do, we are on track at the moment to deliver another really positive year in 18-19. Okay, so thank you very much.
Sorry. Cheers. So we just have a few formalities here. Yeah. We have to approve the minutes of the AGM of the 27th of September 2017, of which there are copies about. So are we happy all that we can agree those minutes? Can? Good. And are we happy that we can adopt the accounts as stated in the annual report and Simon's report as well? We can. Good. Right. That little formality over, I have the enormous pleasure to introduce David Welsh, who is Chief Executive of Leeds Cares. I'm not going to preempt it. I gave you a bit of an intro before, so come on.
Thank you, Linda. Quick. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, my name is David Welsh. I'm Chief Executive of Leeds Cares. Leeds Cares is the charity partner of Leeds Teaching Hospitals. We relaunched, as I'm sure you're aware, in May, just what's that, 5-6 months ago, formerly known as Leeds Hospital Charitable Foundation. I think I was up at the back earlier and just reflecting on the last year. I was sitting at the back because a year ago, rather sheepishly, I crept into the room and Linda put me on the spot, no surprise, and asked me to outline the vision for the charity in the year ahead. And we said that we wanted to develop a charity that was very visible and that people across the trust and people in the community could identify with and understand and relate to, and one that people would be willing to support, and a charity that people would trust. And I would like to think that in a relatively short space of time, we have done that. I think most importantly, we've built such a strong relationship with the staff of Leeds Teaching Hospitals on a day-to-day basis at every level in the organisation, from working with Linda, Julie and the executive team, the CSUs, and with staff at all levels in the organisation from all backgrounds. I think they now understand who we are and what we do and how we can help support the objectives and the vision of Leeds Teaching Hospitals, which mirrors our vision. Our vision is to make sure that exceptional healthcare is available, not just in Leeds, but across Yorkshire and beyond. I think all of us in the room and everyone who works for Leeds Teaching Hospitals and everyone in our community cares about the health and well-being of that community, and we want to make sure that when we need exceptional care, when we need the NHS, that it's there for us. But I guess I would say don't just take my word for it.
I care about the health of my city.
I care about my patients.
We care about doing our bit.
I care about poorly children in our hospital being read stories.
I care about helping to fund important research.
I care about helping those in need.
I care about hospitals being exceptional.
I care because Mum's hospital made her better.
I think we've heard a fair bit today about the history of Leeds Teaching Hospitals and the history of healthcare in Leeds. Going right back to early days, 251 years ago when the first infirmary was set up in Leeds, that was achieved through philanthropy. That was achieved by people in the community giving their money and raising money. 15 individuals who set up annual subscriptions to establish the infirmary in Leeds, and also collected money from inns around the city. And the slide that you see here is an original donor pledge from 1783 for the sum of 2 guineas a year to support the infirmary at Leeds. And that history has continued throughout the development of healthcare in Leeds, through the set-up of the infirmary in Infirmary Street, now in the site of where Aspire is located, to the set-up of the Gilbert Scott building, and the input that Florence Nightingale had to the establishment of the LGI. All the way through to modern times and throughout the time of the NHS, philanthropy and charitable giving has been a huge part of the delivery of healthcare. As we've also heard, we've celebrated 70 years of the NHS. In some ways, many things haven't changed. This is about care on an individual level, one-to-one, people caring about people. For Leeds Cares, we have a vision for the future. And our vision for the future is to develop a new partnership and a new way of working, to bring people together and communities together in a way that will help overcome the challenges that we face in healthcare. Leeds Teaching Hospitals have had a massively successful year, but there are challenges ahead. We have an ageing population. We have people who require more support over a longer period of time. Technology and advances in treatments and drugs drive up costs. So we all have to work together to make sure that we deliver exceptional healthcare. Our model is about people coming together, people from all walks of life. Doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. We believe the business community, we believe individuals, we believe people from what we might maybe call the high net worth sector of our community. Other charities, other organisations and institutions need to work in partnership to make sure that that standard of healthcare continues to drive forward, not just in Leeds but across Yorkshire and beyond. I was going to say over the last couple of years we've donated 25 billion. But that would be wishful thinking. But we have donated £25 million over the last 2 years, either money that we've already spent or money that we've committed to spend to support a whole range of activities, from £100, £200 all the way through to multi-million pounds. And just to give you a few examples, around £350,000 committed to delivering and supporting and developing a day one service which supports major trauma patients. So we work hand in hand in delivering non-clinical support to patients who are admitted to the major trauma centre in Leeds, one of the most successful in the country. And now we've expanded that service across the West Yorkshire Trauma Network, and we're also looking to expand beyond to some of the other major trauma centres in the area, like Hull and Aintree over in Liverpool. You heard earlier about the development of the hybrid theatre that we have significantly funded, and the other big appeal that we have on the go at the moment is to raise £2.4 million for a MR simulator for Leeds Cancer Centre. We're halfway there, so if anyone has some spare change, as we say in Glasgow, you know where to go with it. We also last year supported the play therapists and the play specialists, and that was around £700,000. And they obviously make such a huge difference and bring additional value to the treatment and care in Leeds Children's Hospital. We fund a lot of improvements, in this case to an overnight stay room for families whose children may be admitted to hospital and they have to stay close to them for obvious reasons. We've also funded support of the enhancement of bereavement suites and various other facilities around the hospital. We support education and training. This is the Think Drink campaign, which encouraged everyone across the trust to encourage patients to drink right up until a very short time before their operation. That's made a huge difference to patient health and well-being. We also significantly fund research, £950,000 towards the digital pathology service, amongst many other commitments, and working in partnership with the research and innovation team in Leeds Teaching Hospitals. We need money to do that, and we rely on your support and the support of the wider community. So if you feel like jumping out of a plane with a parachute, running, abseiling, skydiving, wing walking, cycling, you name it, there's an opportunity for you to take part in a fundraising event. And if you're not brave enough, you can just send us a cheque. There are a few really, really exciting initiatives planned over the next 12 months. I'm really proud to be part of Leeds Teaching Hospitals. I'm proud to be part of the journey so far, and very, very much looking forward to supporting the journey and building the Leeds way. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, David, well done. Right, we are just about there. So this is your time now. This is the Q&A session. So anybody in the audience has the opportunity to ask us about anything they've seen or heard. As I said, there are private questions. The PALS team are waiting. I can see some at the back already. But does anybody have anything that they've seen or heard and you think, yes, lady, there's microphones zooming around somewhere. There's a lady on the right hand side around here who's got the mics. Thank you.
I think the new development is wonderful. What I'm concerned about is getting there. Now, if you've got a car, 3 years ago I had radiotherapy. sometimes it took us long getting the parking space.
Can you ask her to use
that
the
multi-storey car park is having a treatment. And
Is
if
it
you've got
on?
roads that goes down the lane, it's an awful long way just to walk to
Yeah.
the giant without walking any further.
Yes, I can.
What's in place to make sure people can get
Thank you. So it's, well, what we're talking about is parking around, well, any of our current facilities. On buses, the general transport system,
Can
sorry.
I just mention, if people don't use the microphone, people with the hearing loss won't be able to use the room system.
No, I think she hadn't got it switched on. That was probably. I think what I've got there, the help of the lady at the front particularly, is to say that there is an issue currently, and we mind in the future, about transport availability onto the hospital sites, particularly. I think in that case it was, lost the lady, the LGI site in particular, I think you were talking about. Oh, here, right, okay. So, does anybody want, Julian?
Can you? Great. Simon Neville at the back is
working?
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry, I'll come down the front. I have to go and sort of ventilation opening. Yes,
Poor Simon suffers from me a lot.
Obviously, car parking is a big issue for us. There's no disguising that, whether it's on this site or but particularly down at the LGI. As part of the redevelopment proposals for the LGI, we'll be undertaking an assessment of the car parking requirements there, and that will be as part of an overall travel plan looking at public transport arrangements to both that site and to this site. So, acknowledge it's a problem. We have an opportunity now as part of the redevelopment plans for the LGI to do something about that and to plan in a much more sensible way. That said, I'm sure it will still remain a challenge, but I'm sure we'll be able to make improvements over the current arrangements.
Anyone else? There's a lady halfway through, there's a gentleman right at the back. Have we only got one roving mic? Can we split this up, give it to somebody else? So we've somebody at the top and somebody at the bottom. Make it quicker. Right. And can we ensure it's on? Gentleman at the back and then a lady just in front of that gentleman, I think. Yes, sir.
Great to hear about all the positive things going on. The CQC was mentioned in terms of helping the trust improve. The CQC were incredibly critical of the trust earlier in the year after a visit finding that up to 40 patients at any one time were in non-clinical areas. So I wonder how feedback from the CQC helped the trust understand how that situation has arisen and what's been done to address it.
Great question.
And if I may, just a second question in terms of the finances. Early on in the year, you will remember that the trust was proposing to set up a wholly owned company, which meant moving a considerable number of staff out of NHS employment, which was very upsetting for lots of those staff. It was presented as being something which was almost essential in terms of financial sustainability, and yet now we find that the trust has the largest surplus it's had in 20 years, so perhaps that was a mistaken view. Things were put on hold, but I wondered if plans for a wholly owned company have now been abandoned completely,
Okay.
and we can be reassured on that point. Thank you.
Okay, so we've two questions there. Who wants to take the first one? Julian.
Thanks very much, John. First question, yes. In common with much of the...
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Do it, come in from here. There.
Is that better? Everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great, okay. So first question, very important, in terms of patients in non-designated areas. So a quick word of explanation. During the winter, like many hospitals, under enormous pressure. Record volumes of patients coming through our A&E departments onto our wards being admitted. And I know, John, as a former consultant, you will appreciate the pressures that we work under. In terms of the view that we took at that time, when we'd opened every bed available, where we'd also commissioned additional beds at Wharfdale Hospital, where our overall capacity plans, we'd done absolutely everything to both open and staff safely capacity. We were still being inundated with more and more patients. And we took the view in terms of safety and quality for patients, that in some cases, in wards, opening up day rooms and other areas that we don't normally use for patients to reside in was a necessary contingency. Undesirable, absolutely, in terms of patient safety and dignity. The CQC came and visited, and we'd already informed the CQC that we were having to do this. This wasn't a secret. We were very upfront and clear about this. But in common with many other hospitals, we were absolutely escalating to levels of capacity that were sort of hitherto unprecedented. So we did all of that, and CQC came in, and yes, they gave us a report, and they came and spoke to the board, and they gave feedback to Linda and I. And it's important to note that in their, among their recommendations that we fully adopted and taken action on, but they were clear that we weren't presenting significant risks to patients, but obviously in terms of privacy and dignity, we were falling below the standards that we want to achieve. So we've put in place a whole series of measures, and I am pleased to say that since May of this year, we haven't had a single patient in a non-designated area of the Trust. And that's because we've been working really hard with our partners in the City Council and other parts of the NHS in the city to discharge patients more quickly, in terms of those that are ready to go home, because sometimes patients will experience significant delays in moving out of hospital for a whole variety of reasons, but the interface with social care and community services and primary care is essential in making sure that we can help patients move through the system effectively. On your second point about our plans to establish a wholly owned subsidiary, that proposition was about establishing our own subsidiary organisation to run estates, facilities, procurement, and a range of services that provide a service to the organisation. And we believed in some of the benefits of that approach, and on that basis we held a widespread consultative process. And you'll remember speaking yourself at some of those meetings, and I think I must have spoken at 15 to 20 meetings of staff and interested parties. We worked closely with staff side. We took a full consultative view of that. We did that before the board took any decision on this. So we worked really hard to make sure that we engaged with everyone to get views, opinions, and ultimately the board took the view that we, on the basis of the feedback that we received, and also on the basis of uncertainties at a national level about processes for establishing these, that we felt the important thing was to provide certainty to our staff, and so we stepped back from that and gave a commitment to explore alternative options which will be different to that, but which wouldn't involve the large-scale transfer of staff into a wholly owned subsidiary. Now, it's very important to say that those plans were about addressing the future financial challenges, and the surplus we have achieved during the year was a result of the incredible efforts of our teams. The reason we were thinking about that wholly owned subsidiary was the financial challenge moving forward. So over the next 5-10 years, how are we going to balance the demands that we're being asked to deliver against the financial resource that we have? And that was a proposition that gave us some opportunities that we are going to have to find alternatives to. So please don't conflate the £19 million surplus with the need to have delivered that, because they're separate issues. So we are now having to look at other measures and other ways of achieving the levels of surplus we need to make to deliver Building the Leeds Way. And the board are actively engaged in that with all of our colleagues across the Trust.
Well done. Any more? I saw a lady who was on this right. Oh gosh, lots and lots. Here we go. There's a lady. I think there was a lady or a gentleman's hand. I can't just see it. There was a lady at the back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I was a health visitor, but now I'm 90 years old, so I'm a little bit behind now. I just wondered if you still had health visitors in the health service, and if not, who does that work? Because I feel the connection between the hospital and home is very important, and care in the hospital and care in the home, two very different things.
Thank you for that. I've asked the vet medical director to answer you.
Hello, yes, there are still health visitors, but they are employed and are run from Leeds Community Healthcare Services, which is a separate organisation. They're clearly a very close partner of ours, but they are the ones who employ the health visitors and who run community services along with district nursing, school nursing, etc.
Thank you.
Next one.
Yeah, Roy Everett from Princess Trust. Last AGM, you highlighted a very concerned about recruitment of nursing staff. The fact that your churn was actually greater in some cases in recruitment, and the number of nursing staff you wanted was horrendous. Princess Trust has been involved with one or two bits, and we work across trusts, not just obviously Leeds. Can you give us an update of where you are on recruitment?
Who wants to take that one? Suzanne? I think you might be better coming up here, Suzanne, because we might, you can try that mic if you want. Sorry, Jonathan, for this one.
Thank you for, who asked that question?
Gentleman
Thank you very much for that question, and very relevant for us at the moment because nationally there remains some challenges for nurse recruitment. We have currently, we're just about to have 350 new registered nurses about to start in Leeds Teaching Organisation across a number of our specialties, which is really good news to us. We have started a new school of nursing, so instead of having one outtake a year for new nurses, we're going to have two. We're in the second year of that now. And as in the earlier presentations, we're blessed with having 600 or so apprenticeships that are other entry routes into the profession, as well as other new roles, nursing associate roles, who we are a national pilot with, and also those that want to do their degree in nursing through an apprenticeship route. We've actually started that programme in recent weeks. So it's been quite a challenge for our clinical areas, but we will maintain our relationships with our university partners and our colleagues in Leeds in how we recruit our new nurses. And it's not only about the recruitment, it's when they arrive, we need to love them. We need to retain them, because there are plenty of jobs for those nurses to go to. So we need to find ways through our Leeds Way values in making their experiences great here at the hospital.
Thank you. Gentleman at the back.
I'll try to stand. I'm going to say something which is very similar to what we said last year. If I were a member of the board, or a senior management, or an employee of this trust, I would be very pleased. I would be happy as anything that all this work has been done, the standard is high, things have been achieved, we don't owe money, and everything's super. The only problem for me is this, that we're still living with an 18-week waiting list. Now it's I've been corrected by someone back here. My own position in the health service simply as a patient. And I have to say that what is happening to me in this hospital and in LGI at the moment is very good. But I do worry about the people in certain specialities who find themselves waiting. Now, somebody on my left is 16 weeks. The official 60 weeks. 18 weeks was bandied about in the winter, and then somebody at the Department of Health in London said, well, because of the winter pressures, people will have to wait 20 weeks. Now, okay, everything's going well with what is being done. I have no doubt at all about the quality of the work. The problem is that once you've got a waiting list, it goes on, unless you can substantially increase the staff and increase the throughput. Now, this sounds an awful word. to be talking truthful about people. But the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people in pain and anguish and worry for too many weeks. And I want to know what we can do to reduce those waiting lists and to get a system where a reasonable amount of time elapses between being diagnosed and being treated. It's only 3 weeks ago or so that we were failing, or some trust, I don't say it is one trust, was failing the 2-week waiting list for cancer patients.
That's not here.
That's not here, okay, I admit it. But the problem about the health services, here we are, we've got a good teaching hospitals trust, everything is going well, but we still are not doing enough.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming again this year. Julian mentioned in his presentation the constitutional standards and the challenges there and some of the reasons, but I think Julian might wish to reiterate some of them.
Thank you very much for your question, very important one. You're absolutely right about the importance of waiting times for patients. It is a challenge, can't underestimate that, and particularly during the winter. Again, you were right to mention the fact that at a national level, because of the number of patients presenting urgently in hospitals, there was a call to step back from some of the standards for we call elective patients that are planned operations that are coming into hospital. At the same time as the growth in urgent pressures, we are experiencing increases in referrals for a number of specialities. And in some of our most stretched specialities, things like spinal surgery, for example, we only have a finite number of specialists, obviously consultants who work here, who do years and years of training to develop their expertise. We have a finite number of operating theatres and critical care beds. But the background number of referrals coming into us is growing. The health needs of our population is growing. So our ability to meet those standards overall is a real challenge. We're doing everything we can that's within our gift to do what you suggest in terms of improving throughput. So we're working hard to make sure our operating theatres are working more productively by extending the time that they operate. Our staff are working more flexibly to work out of hours, weekends and so on, to absolutely maximise the resources and capacity that we have. However, given recent announcements that the NHS will benefit from 3.4% growth in funding over the coming years, that's against a background of rising demand, and I think one of the challenges of the NHS plan is how that level of investment is going to not only help take us forward, but actually deliver the constitutional standards that we've already set out to the public in terms of the 18-week standard that you mentioned, the 2-week cancer wait, the 62-day standard for cancer treatment, all of those standards that we've worked incredibly hard to get to and maintain for us in this trust are really challenging at the moment, and I wouldn't pretend otherwise. We're doing all we can to improve those. We're seeing some improvements in some areas, but we're seeing ongoing challenges, particularly in those areas where it's tough to recruit. Nationally, there's a shortage of specialists, and where the continuing referrals increase. So in overall terms, I think, and a number of us are involved in trying to influence the NHS plan, we need to be making that case at a national level to ensure that we can ensure we get to meet those standards consistently and effectively for our patients.
Yeah.
Well, this is end of September, so party conference season. A lot of promises made, thin on details. You said something about Leeds Way and how we are going to transform the hospital trust digitally over the coming months and years. I wonder if you would care to give a little bit, put a little bit of flesh on the bone. Give us a very clear roadmap as to this is something you would expect to achieve in 3 months, 6 months. Next year when we meet again, you would have achieved, let's say, 10 things and will be on to 11 things, and so it goes. I mean, look around you. You will find that people who manage to attend a day meeting in the hospital are from certain demographics. There will be many more people who are retired, or there will be many more people whose day job is related to the hospital in some way. We are excluding a very large proportion of demographics of people in our care. And it is relatively straightforward. You can have your AGM run online parallelly with offline. And hopefully many more people will join. So this is a very low-hanging fruit. Make me a promise that you will have your next AGM online and offline at the same time. And if you do that, if you set yourself the target, this hospital actually has the capability to achieve that. Similarly, the hospital has a lot of volunteers working for it. And the way of engaging with volunteers is extremely antiquated. So I give some of my time to the hospital, I give some of my time to Department of Health, I hold 2 public appointments with Department of Health. And the Department of Health is extremely good at paying their volunteers for their expenses. This hospital is extremely bad at paying its volunteers for their expenses. So think of automating that system, putting it online, making it really simple, and show volunteers that you care about them and you can deliver a simple project.
Okay. There's quite a lot in that content, but let's take the IT content first, because I think we've got some rules here.
So we'll try and do some of the digital parts to that first, as Linda says. I guess the first thing to say about the AGM being online, it is online. So we're broadcasting Buzzlot now on YouTube, and some of you guys that are asking the questions as well. So it's up there now live, so massive credit to Jane and the comms team that have been able to do all that work and make that happen.
Excuse me, is it live online or is it just the minutes of the last meeting?
No,
it's a video of this is live on
live.
Yeah. Broadcasting now, so we're getting comments to us saying they can see us. So that's the first thing to say, which is always handy to know that that's out there. The other thing around digital engagement and building the Leeds way, the 2 projects go hand in hand, as Julian said and has been said already. A hospital in 2020, 2023 has to be a hospital that is a digital hospital. You wouldn't want to open a hospital door in 2023 and see the amount of paper that you see in the NHS today. Leeds has an ambition and a self-set target to be a digital hospital by December 2019. That means we remove the vast majority of the paper from this hospital by 2019. Wharfdale, the stroke pathway and other areas of the hospital are now digital pathways and digital parts of the hospital. So a lot of work has been done this year and a huge amount of work is planned for next year to truly embrace the ambition and benefits of having digital in place. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour for digital, but do get in touch as a patient, as a citizen, to have conversations about other parts of digital, because there's a huge amount going on that agenda in Leeds.
And I'm going to suggest that the volunteer question is picked up by, we've got our HR director here, poor Jenny's only just joined us, but also I was looking straight at David as well because there's an alliance there. So that would be good for you to talk to those outside of here. Right, I think we've got possibly one more question, time.
I'd just like to say that I have to wait long times for appointments because people haven't been bothered to turn up for theirs. And that has been the biggest bugbear for me. It's not the fact that there isn't something there, it's the fact that people just don't turn up for their appointments. I've been disgusted at the amount of people can't even bother to phone me to say that they're not coming along, which for those that do need care, that's been delayed for us because people just treat it like, I don't know what they treat it like.
I've got, believe me, it's one of my pet things is do not attend, but like Julian, because we've just been discussing it this morning at our finance performance meeting.
Thank you for that observation. I think we all feel a sense of relate to that because the resources we offer are precious and it's important that they're utilised to their fullest extent. We are doing all we can to ensure that we remind patients through texts and other means about their appointments and follow-ups and so on. We are seeing in some areas good reductions in the did not attend rates. And when I talked about the Leeds improvement method, one of the areas that we first started in was at Chapel Allerton in orthopaedics, where the team there decided that one of the best ways of avoiding cancellations and so on was for the patients to agree with their consultant a date between the two of them during their meeting, and that was a binding commitment between both, and that resulted in far fewer cancelled operations at short notice than we previously had. So we're working hard to find ways of addressing that, but everyone has a responsibility, don't they? We all have a responsibility as a society to respect the NHS and use the resources wisely and well.
We have run over, we always run over here, it's one of the best bits of the entire afternoon. Have we got time? I'm looking at those with mics. Have we got time? I did say final one. Jonathan, just this gentleman here, let's, and that must be it then, otherwise I'm in trouble with transport arrangements.
Oh, I just hope really that the lady was talking about the income of new nurses coming in sooner rather than later, because I think the expense of using agency nurses is astronomical.
Right,
so sooner the better.
Well, we've got, in the annual report you'll see that is mentioned, we have one of the lowest agency spends in the country. Because we've had a lot of HR initiatives throughout the entire year, in fact more than a year now, and we've vastly reduced our agency spend, and we now have a bank, which are our internal people who want to work more flexibly, and that's been a huge success. So I'm quite proud of the efforts that our executive and our staff, particularly because they've done it themselves, they agree. We don't want to be paying over the odds for people that are actually, we know we've got them here. And that's worked, so that is good news. Well, unless anybody wants to add any more to that, I think we can. Can I say an enormous thank you? I mean, really, I know we could go on, and it is tight for time now because everybody has this transport, back to that again, as we started earlier. But thank you so much. We always have a terrific turnout for our annual general meeting, and it does make it interesting. Again, we are listening to you. The PALS team, as I said earlier, are outside. They'll be there for the rest of the afternoon. So are the cake. So please go have your cups of tea and let's celebrate what the NHS is all about. And that's making sure that LTHT always succeeds year on year on year. Thanks to you and your support. Thank you very much.